Set up, you just might learn something. Good evening. I'm Jamarcus Fields. Welcome to Elevate and Illuminate, the Empowerment Podcast, episode number 6. We flying right on through this season. Um, Again, I'm Jamarcus Fields. I'm the executive director and founder of Iron Sharpens Iron WAST. That is WAST, which stands for We Are Stronger Together, where our mission is to empower and equip at-risk youth and justice-involved individuals for successful reintegration into society. Um, Again, thank you for your time and thank you for joining us this evening. As usual, we like to make this as interactive as possible. So the chat room will be open. So any questions or comments or anything you want to add to and bring to the conversation, feel free to put it in the chat. And we're gonna get this thing going. So I'm gonna give my guest a second to introduce himself, and then we're gonna take off on this thing. Floor yours, bro.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi wa alihi wa ashabihi wa tariqati ila yawmiddin. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, we praise and we seek his assistance. Peace be upon your prophet and all your folk and companions and all your followers to the end of time. Um, Alhamdulillah, I open up with that because my primary identity is Muslim, and my secondary identity is I'm a black man living in America. And from there, my liberated name is Mutia Abdul Basit. My government name is Raymond Powell. Alhamdulillah. A little bit about myself, introducing myself. Alhamdulillah. I'm in my mid 40s, striving, happy about that. I didn't think I was gonna be able to make, you know.
Man.
Coming up in the era time I come from, we didn't even think we thought probably we'd make it to about 20, 28, 25, 28. To be in the 40s, mid 40s and getting ready to hit 50s, it's a blessing. Alhamdulillah. I'm from Gary, Indiana, live and direct. Grew up on the east side of Gary, impoverished Gary too, right? But I grew up in the I'm a 70s baby. So like I did catch the industrial steel mill era. So like growing up, it wasn't about going to college, it was about going to the steel mill. So like I really had a great opportunity and some promise because if you go to the steel mill from Gary, you can really, make something, take care of your family. So I come up
Okay.
through that era, ended up going to Job Corps, moving to Indianapolis, and living most of my life in prison. So, from the age of 18 to 44, spent most of my life in prison. But, a little bit about me. That's just a little bit about me. My background. I'm quite sure we'll get into some more details of, what I do and, how I do it. Hey, I got a quick
Yeah.
question for you before you take off. I see this share button at the end. I can't hit that kind of.
Don't give me the line. I really don't know.
All right. I see a share button. And is there any way that I can comment?
For us, you would have to comment live. Like
I,
if you
I,
see it, you would just have to address it
oh, like right now.
verbally. Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep. So
Okay.
so for everybody else, they can comment. For us, we can just read it. We'll just have to reply verbally.
Uh, okay. Okay. And so if I wanted to share it, it'll cut me off.
Probably so. I've never messed with it. So don't hey, I can't even tell you that if you touch the stove, it'll burn you. I can't even tell you
Can't
that.
even tell me that. All right. I ain't gonna even mess with it. I was gonna share it to a network, but it's all good. Let's roll. Let's keep it rolling, man. I ain't
That part. So So you mentioned spending most of your life in prison, going in at 18, uh, coming back out at 44. Um, so I want to go back, like at as an 18-year-old walking into prison, like what was going through your 18-year-old mind at that moment?
Man, you said walking into the prison at 18.
Yeah,
Uh, what was going through my mind? When
as an
I'm getting out.
18-year-old,
Yeah, when I'm getting out. Yeah,
that part.
that's you know main thing that I knew I was young, so I knew I was getting out. I always had the belief that I was getting out one day. I just didn't know when. So, babe, what you trying to do? You trying to look for it? Give time out 1 second. Okay, can you get on there? All right, just go to his Jamarcus Fields and then go on there. Jamarcus Fields. Go to YouTube and hit Jamarcus Fields. Yes, and then just you'll see it on there. Then just hit live. Go to live. All right. All right. Sorry about that, bro.
It's all good. Make sure
Yeah,
make sure she know where she going.
yeah. Housekeeping. Uh,
That
yeah.
part.
So yeah, man. Like for me, like 18 years old, man. You know, uh, I wind up at Pendleton. So when I got to RDC, um, it was I thought RDC was prison because they put me on the range. I wasn't in the pod. And I wanted to go to the pod because I was intimidated a little bit about being in a cell, because I was
Mhm.
coming from the county jail, which kind of got I was really in a dormitory, like in the county jail. I was in I was in a unit called 2I. So I was on the second floor and so murder robbery block. So when I got to RDC, it was just different. It was like I know I'm coming here to get shipped somewhere else. So I was putting in to go where I'm from, Gary. I was putting in to go to Michigan City, and of course, wherever you put in to go at during that time, if you putting in to go to RDC, they'll send you to the. I mean, if you putting in to go to a prison, they have a tendency of sending you the opposite direction. So if you from
Right.
Evansville, if you put in to go to Evans, if you put in to go somewhere down south, they're gonna send you up north. So, but
Mhm.
I mean, so I mean, I still put in to go to the city, and when they called my name, they was like reformatory, and I was like, man, just shook my head, man, like wow. And they put me on that bus, went all the way, to the reformatory from RDC, and they drove that bus behind the wall, and I was like, hopefully I get up out of here one day soon, and
Yeah.
having been an 18-year-old, you don't really know what you don't even really know what 5 years mean at 18. I mean, even though you're 18, you don't even know what 5 years mean because the most time I had done prior to that was like 30 days in juvenile. So yeah,
Mhm. And that's part of why I asked that question, because I remember, when I was sentenced, like, to a degree, like I was frightened because I couldn't grasp 30 years. I understood that I was sentenced to 60, have to serve 30, but like I only been alive for 18. I
right,
can't even grasp the concept of 30 years yet.
right,
So it was a daunting and an intimidating uh journey to start off, because I'm like, 30, like I don't even know what 30 years of life look like. And they telling me that I got to do this. So, that's what made me ask, like, what was going through your 18-year-old mind at that particular time, walking through there in that moment. You know what I mean? I just be curious of what be going through others' minds at that age, just knowing what was going through mine, right?
Right, right. Yeah,
Um, so of course, that's where I started out at. I started out at Michigan City. So I remember when you came to the facility, um, as well as the impact that you begin to have in the facility, like almost immediately. You know what I mean? Like it was a different type of vibe, different type of energy, um, on what you stood on. And one thing I could say, from the time that I met you back then to today, like you've remained the same individual. Like prison has didn't, you know what I mean? Like it didn't change you, it didn't shift you into another individual. Like your principles and everything remain the same the whole way. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things that I respect about you a whole lot. Like no matter the conditions, I am who I am. and
true.
and, and that has remained true from then to this day. So I salute you on that, man. You definitely did your time. 10 toes down, head up with integrity.
For sure, for sure. And I
Um,
echo
Go
that
ahead.
back. Man. No, I echo that back. You know,
That part. Especially with the kind of conditions we were under, man. We watched a lot of people. Um, I said it in my song. I watched a lot of great men get crushed by the DOC.
by the DOC. Yeah, yeah,
Get
yeah.
crushed. So to be able to withstand that at such a young age says a whole lot.
For sure, for sure.
Says a whole lot. So serving 26 years now, I know the the story, but like 26 years at some point during this journey actually became a bit of a blessing from how the journey started. Um, and you had to fight to make it where you did and how you did. Like you want to share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah, yeah, I will. Let me say, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. I see the salams in the chat. My wife, alhamdulillah, and brother Hassan, alhamdulillah, wa alaikum salam to both of you all, alhamdulillah. So the journey, man, like of incarceration and where like where I began, my transformation process. Um, alhamdulillah. Uh, I wasn't always um, you know, uh in control, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you get in the system, you feel, I mean, even though it's a controlled environment, you still feel a little out of control too, right? Because you don't, I didn't, 26 years, that's a transformation. That's a whole process of growth, man. And
Yeah.
uh yeah, so at 18 when I came in, I was going to Upward Bound, and I was going to a lot of other religious services and stuff like that. And when I landed at Michigan City culturally, to me, in my opinion, my opinion, it had more culture than a reformatory, right?
Okay.
Reformatory, and I can see, like, and as I look back, right, like, and I'll digress a little bit, right, on this question, right. As I look back, I look at the names of how look at the names and say P Town, right? It's like a town, right? And that's how people kind of looked at it. And then it has the other name, Reformatory. So it's almost like a school, right?
Mhm.
I ISP, the Indiana State Prison. So this is the state prison. This is big time, right? They got death row in there, death row unit. So, like, when I got to Michigan City, it was guys going on a visit, and I was coming through the front gate. And that was the difference between ISR and ISP. At ISP, they brought us through the front gate. They pulled the bus up to the front gate, and we went in through the front door. And And as we coming in, the visiting room is to your right. And if you keep going, it's the double doors. So
Right.
we sitting there, we ain't got no bags or nothing because we ain't got our property. The property room was when you come out, it was actually where commissary is at now. Like that was the property room. And a couple of the guys was in there, LC, Orlando, and Jay Hogg. They was working in they was working in
Yeah.
they was working in receiving, right? And but before I got in there, it was a guy going on a visit. And he had on a blue jean jacket. He had some blue jeans on. He looked like he was a civilian, right? But I could tell, I knew he was, coming on a visit, right? Because he came through the double doors, like, and then he had some nice smells on too, like he had some cologne on, right? So I was like, yeah,
Right.
I said, this the city for real. You know what I'm saying? Like this ain't no town, man. It's the city. And so yeah, I said, man, this ain't a town, man. This is the city, right? And
Right.
so um when I got there, it was just a lot of culture, man. It was a lot of things to do. When I went to rec, you know, you ain't have to like check out with an ID for the video. Like it had video games and joysticks and everything it was out. Basketball court, scoreboard lit up. They got games going. You can hear the buzzer going off before you even come through the front gate. You can hear somebody checking into the game. And you can hear the buzzer going off. You're like, man, it's rec at nighttime, like 7:30 to 9:30 rec
Yeah.
in the wintertime. It get dark at 5, but rec is at 7:30. So I'm talking about it's pitch black. And you got
Right.
guys running like they Rocky on the side of the wall, running up against the wall like they Rocky in the middle of the night. You know, then come back in from the cold and take a shower. Showers busting in there. It's 10, 15 guys in there trying to clean up, right? Trying to get off the court. And some guys like, I go in. You learn the ethic of the prison too. Like I'm
Hmm.
gonna go back to the cell and then allow somebody, like I know an officer is on. I'm gonna have them to pop my gate at my door at the count and give me a shower. I ain't showering with all the guys, right?
Right.
So
No
yeah, man.
doubt.
I and I don't know if I answered the question directly, but that was like, all of that was shaping and molding me. Like I really learned a lot at ISP, and I spent the bulk of my time at ISP. I think I was only at reformatory for about I'm gonna say about 9 months, maybe. I think
Hmm.
or shorter than that, maybe 7 months. I was there at reformatory, and uh, they put 16 of us on the bus. And I came down with a whole bunch of guys from Gary, Indiana, man. Came down with Octavius Williams. They call him Tate. I
Hey.
came down with uh Dirty Left, D
Hmm.
came down. Like it was a bunch of us on the bus together. So like we had a nice cohort. Some guys went to orientation, some guys went straight to the dorm. I was one of them guys went straight to the dorm. Man, I got embraced there. As soon as I came to the dorm, because they knew I could hoop. So guys was really on deck, so they was like, man, I can't wait to take bro out here to rec, man. Get these guys a business out here, right? So yeah,
and, and give them the business you did.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh, yeah, man. Like I can't even front, man. I don't even know if you answered the question directly, but hearing that like gave me chills, man. So like I needed to hear that, man. Um,
yeah, for sure.
just going back to that moment, man. Because
Right.
Michigan City definitely was it was just that. It was a city.
It was a
Um,
city, man.
yeah, and it was a totally different type of culture there, man, that was different.
Yeah,
And you we grew up in it. We were there for so long that sometimes you kind of forget the the culture, the system that it was until we transferred up out of there
yeah,
and started leveling down. I remember telling people like, man, if they came and asked for volunteers today to go back to Michigan City, I would go back.
Right, 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 right.
Because of the culture that it had, and but the more I started to level down, I began to understand the process. And that's kind of where I wanna go next with, once you got up out of Michigan City, because Michigan City shaped us and started going to these other facilities, like how was the assimilation in this whole level down process? I know I bucked it initially until I began to like really understand the point of the process. But like, what was your level down process like?
Man, leveling down. So like I'm gonna go back and then come forward, right? Like,
All right.
because I kind of touched on the fact that ISP got the death chamber.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that get lifted up enough in our conversations that we was in an environment where they executed people. Like,
Yeah.
so we was sitting in cell houses and knowing that it was a building right next to the cell house where they finna get ready to basically lethal inject somebody. And so the time that we spent there, you know, if everybody go check the books, from 90, I was there from 97 to '08. Look how many state execution was during that time. It was roughly 14, 15 state executions. And sometimes it was 2 or 3 executions in a year. Like they
Every
really
year.
got busy. And
Yeah.
um so having been orientated in an environment where we understood that the stakes were high for individuals, especially like I was telling you, we were talking about this early on our way to I don't know if we was on our way to work. No, matter of fact, we was in class today. And I was telling you like that man, when we got there, they had a thing called a lifers club.
Yeah.
Like, so you got lifers here, you got people here that are being executed. They don't even call it death row, call it X row. And
Mm-hmm.
it got a big old X on the building and the ROW. And and you walk past every day going to child, you walk past and you can see the death chamber, right? You can see the
Yeah.
building where they execute people at. So having been orientated in that environment, I knew like how serious that environment was for me in shaping and orientating my, like my paradigm, right? And
Right.
so and so I really embraced the fact that I'm gonna get from up from behind this wall because I had
Mm-hmm.
never for 18 years I was behind the wall for 18 years. Like I had never seen daylight for a long period of time. And when I say
Yeah.
daylight, I mean literally, metaphorically, physically, spiritually, and everything. I hadn't seen like where you if I go out the dorm, I can just look to my left and then I can see a car go by. When you go out the dorm and see cell house or E dorm and look to your left and right, you seeing concrete slab. So
Yeah.
I really embraced the level down process. I really did. So they transferred me to Pendleton in 2008, December. I'll never forget it. It was Kwanzaa. Blessings to you too, Darvis. And I see you, Michael Hart. They said we ain't using your street moniker. You know, we using Michael Hart, man. Uh, shout out to you too, Steph. I see you. I see you. I see you in the chat. But yeah, like you know, I had left ISP in 2008, December. Never forget that Kwanzaa was going on. And like I said, remember we was just talking about this, man. I don't mean to, get too far in the weeds in this, but I think we
Mm-hmm.
need
Let's
to
go.
put the perspective on it that, like, we came from a facility that honored Kwanzaa all 7 days initially. Then they peeled it back to 5, and then 3, 2, 1. Now they probably ain't even doing Kwanzaa no more. But that was the work of organizations who had put in the work there to establish programming for individuals like myself that was young, dumb, and didn't understand really anything about, like I hadn't even never heard of Kwanzaa until I got incarcerated. I don't know about you. What about you?
Same thing.
Never heard of it, right?
Yep.
You know, like I didn't even know about Islam until I got incarcerated. I knew about Farrakhan, but I didn't know anything about Islam until I got incarcerated, And
Wow.
so like you found like and I found all of that at ISP. Essentially I found myself. And I didn't even have a high school education when I got to ISP. I ended up leaving there with a 4-year degree. I end up, I had my boots strapped on. I had, like I was put together. So when you talk about leveling down, by that time I was embracing the challenge of going to another institution and seeing, can I take this show on the road? So I ended up
Okay.
going to I ended up going back to Indiana Reformatory for another 4 or 5 years. I did there behind the wall, and it was all love, man. And then I left, and I hate to use them in the context. Let me, for all the pure ears out there, is like prison. When I say it's all love, I'm talking about you establishing family bonds, relations. You ain't like we brothers. Like we got some and shout out to M, man. Marshall Emerson, man. Shout out to him. He made a song I'll never forget. And I'm gonna mention this right now, right? And you come back and view this tape. That's how the impact that y'all had when y'all was in the studio, when y'all was making music, right? He had a song called I'm at the city where the wall is high, you know, and I'm not for sure if that was the hook or the bar or the whatever, what I'm saying? As you can see, I'm not a lyricist, right? But that stained my brain. He was talking about, he made a song about Michigan City and how the wall was high, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
man, like, what I mean, like to, when I got to back to ISR, they sent me to the farm, man. From there, after I did my little 4 or 5 years there, sent me to the farm, total culture shock.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I embraced it because I was able to see the outside world every day. I leave out the dorm, go to rec, and they had a thing called ball field. And ball field, man, that was life changing for me, man. For real. After having done 18 years behind the wall, and you was finally able to see US 40 highway,
Yeah.
summertime, motorcycles up and down the highway, people in their cars, and I would just put my music on, sometimes sit in the bleachers and just watch the cars go back and forth, man, up and down the highway. Knowing in my mind, I got an opportunity at one day, once I'm released, to be on that same highway one day, right? And I knew that we was leaving individuals where we were at. Yeah, he said ISP was a college where we got our PhD. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mike, I tell people we all doctors, man. We ain't like Dr. Phil, we like Dr. Dre. So yeah, we definitely got our PhD, man, there, man. So this doctor, this ain't Dr. Phil. This is Dr. Fields I'm talking to, interviewing. We live with Dr. Fields and Dr. Mutia, man. So yeah, man, that was kind of like my leveling down process, man. Like I said, it was a cultural shock going to the smaller level prisons. You have to be real selective on who you bring into your circle. My spirituality rule today, when I got there, I didn't change up. I stayed, who I am, Muslim, primary identity, secondary identity. I'm African, I'm a black American male. And I bring I bring a list of things that I can help out in an environment with, and individuals came and attached themselves to me to get some of my lived experience and wisdom when I was there. And those that I can help, I got to a point where it was like this. It's so many people that need help. The guys that don't want help, I couldn't worry about them.
No doubt. No doubt. So I'm in the chat. So Steph said in prison, you had to learn a whole new culture in order to navigate behind the walls successfully. What is the process you put in place for unlearning things that are not helpful in free society?
Man, that's a good question, Steph. what's the process you put in place for unlearning things that are not helpful in free society? That was the question, right?
Yes,
Did I
sir.
get it? Did I get it right? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I think I often talk about this a lot. You got to go from bit mode to citizen mode. And so you unlearn unhealthy habits before you get out because you like you a lot of us understood the degree of our institutionalization. And we understood a lot of us who got them decades in the prisons. And if you was proactive in your incarceration, you understood like I'm institutionalized, man. I'm a little messed up, right? Even to the point where you start buying self-help books like for for your anger. You start buying self-help books for how do you treat a woman? Like some people might be embarrassed to say that, but it was a lot of guys probably, you know, buying books, just to, you know, uh look at from a woman's perspective of how do you deal with a woman and her anatomy and her humanity and all of her emotional and physical makeup, right? So
Right.
it was a lot of self-help books out there like that. And so we study those books because a lot of guys, we didn't have the lived experience. We don't know, a lot of us didn't know what it was like to live with a woman. Like we got locked up when we was 18. So, I mean, the most you probably was living with a woman probably maybe a year or two. And if you was at 16, you really didn't experience that as an adult. So you really didn't really have time to develop. So it's like you spent all this time in prison and then you wondering like, what is it like? So you start really working in on yourself. So institutionalization was an important part of recognizing that it affected this incarceration affected me. So a lot of stuff got offset by your education. Like, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of the classes that I chose, Stephanie, at Ball State, I I got my minor, I got four minors: communication, educational psychology, counseling psychology, and sociology. Those are my four minors. And all of those minors are dealing with people. All of those minors, they center around how to navigate with people. So I had to unlearn by understanding like this is how prison go and this is how the free world go. And constantly interacting with the free world. So like it wasn't like we was isolated and trapped inside of a cell for 23 and 1. That's a different type of incarceration. We actually had exposure to professors, people with PhDs, doctor this, doctor him, doctor her. And they was coming into the facility. So we was able to interact with people from the streets, which shows a lot of our institutionalization because it
Yeah.
don't really show up around each other until we get around like Kwanzaa. You come in, you will start seeing people acting real weird when free people start coming in, right?
Yeah.
In terms of food, you seen like when they bring a feast in, Kairos or whatever, whatnot, and how like you ain't been around fried chicken, like you will see some people go crazy about fried chicken. So you had to unlearn a lot of your institutionalizations, like, you know, um, this, for an example, for those examples. But I can go on and on talk about that, man, about that whole process because you can write volumes of books on how you have to unlearn a lot of your prison stuff. And some stuff it's still with us, man. Some stuff still with us.
Yeah. I often say that, if we were in control of how much we disrobed, we would take it all off before we walk out the door. Some of it we can't. You know what I mean? Like it's still with us. But that's why I've, got to a place of respecting the level down process because it was progressive training all the way to the door. Because it's like the more you level down, the more you're around more societal norms.
Right.
The more
Yeah.
you level down all the way up to the door, like now you're dealing with people who just coming from the county jail, people who just left the streets. So you
Right.
seeing a different type of culture, a different way that they act. And that became a personal challenge for me. Like, how do I fit in first with what's considered norm, because that helps me identify what type of institutionalization that I have
For sure.
that I might need to work on, because I'm like, okay, if this is normal out there and this is what's going on with me, like I really ain't feeling that, because I got to a place where I was like, man, they weird, man, like because
Right.
they don't act the way I act.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, but our way of living had become our norm. So
Yeah.
like at some point you have to be able to acknowledge that and address that I got some stuff I need to work on, um, or this anger issue that I didn't develop gonna become a problem, because these youngsters off the chain and I'm gonna end up hurting one of them if I don't reel that in and
Right.
get that under control.
Right. And you know
So
the
I
thing,
love that.
the interesting part about what you're saying, man, was it was this old school named Pee Wee. I think he was from Nap too. When I got to the farm, he was like, he said in that old man voice, he had been Pee Wee been down damn near 30. He was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, Mutia, I don't want to send none of these youngsters home in a box. I'm, I was like, whoa. You know what I mean? Like he said that to me like real, like, man, I ain't trying to send none of these youngsters home in a box. Cause I done seen like dudes really prank out from coming from higher level to the lower level, because the level of disrespect is just out of this world. It's out of the orbit for them, and they couldn't handle it, man. And they ended up
Yeah.
like snapping off. And you know, one of the elder brothers did the same thing at Miami Correctional Facility. They put him in that. They put him in that uh, double cell. They put him in a cell with another guy, and the guy was being disrespectful. The brother was Muslim, so at the time, he take his prayers serious and stuff like that. And the youngster was, always, making noise, jumping off the bed, probably passing wind and stuff like that. And brother probably done told him several times, "Hey man, like I take this prayer serious, man. Like you can do, you can disrespect me all kind of ways, but when it comes to this, don't do it, man." He painted the walls red with that youngster, man, and lost a lot of
Yeah.
time and damn near caught a murder case, man. And that's the sad part about it, is that when you level down, they expect you to automatically have that switch turn, and for some of us it don't work. But I'm glad and I'm thankful that we were able to navigate that process without having to go through some of those difficulties.
Yes, sir. So let me speed the tape up a little bit. So last time I had saw you was 2007 when I left the city, March of 2007. And I didn't see you again until what, 2020, 21? No, it had to be 20.
20.
Like, yeah, 2020 in South Bend at the reentry center.
I got there in July
So
of 20.
okay, so it was 20 before, and the crazy thing, that was like right before I left. It moved it and got married and moved to Indianapolis. Because
Yep.
that the middle of that August, like I was gone and back here to Indianapolis. But
Yeah. And they told
what
me
was
I
the
had dismissed you.
yeah? Because I left. It had been some months. I left like the end of 19,
Yep.
like
They
the end
told
of
me I
the
had
year.
dismissed.
Yeah. And so what was the impact that being able to go through reentry? What was the impact on that on your reentry process? Because we already know like not many people get to experience that. We talk about that quite often. It being the only DOC reentry facility in the state, only housing 200 men, and we both had the pleasure of experiencing that piece of the journey before we came home. So I just want to know, how did that that stop in your journey impact the you getting to the finish line?
Man, first of all, I want to say, man, shout out to Jay Fields, man. Uh, Iron Sharpen Iron. Um, Watts, we are stronger together. Definitely, you know, you know, because '07, man, like, and I'm always going back and moving forward.
Do your
Excuse me,
thing.
just to keep stuff in the context. So ISP, man, like what I knew from you is that you had a lot of talent, man. You were a very talented individual, and I seen that you wasn't one of the cats that was afraid to change in front of people. People can
Mhm.
change, but a lot of them they afraid to change in front of people, right?
Right.
Because it's hard. Because the people who know you is like, I know you, man. You ain't you know, and you changed on me, right? But
Right.
for some of us, it came easier based on our experience. So when you came off lockup prior to '07, and I seen you get in school, and I'm talking about like you took off at Ball State. Like you was like people don't even know, like you was running top 10 in academics there, like so people was and like turning papers in, like I'm talking about like finals, midterms. I'm talking about your grades was like crazy, right? So and I'll never forget that. Like we weren't just going to college, bro. We was going to college to get 4.0s. We was trying to graduate summa
Dang.
cum laude. Like like it was like we was competing to like go to college, not just to like I'm just trying to get a degree. Nah, we finna like if the GPA slipped a little bit, like that was damn near like a cry. Like we done shut the TV off for a month. Like I messed around and got a B minus, man, in anthropology 231, man. I'm upset.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't watching TV the next two. Like, bro, you seen the game last night? No, didn't see it. Why? Man, I got a B, man, in anthropology, man. Can you believe that? You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's what
Yeah.
I knew from us. Like, we really went to school and got that, and it paid off. So, shifting forward, right? Like, you was always like, you know what I mean? Like when I seen you make that shift, man, and then the guys that was still, living how they was living, I said, man, this brother gonna make some impact. He gonna make some impact because it's a lot of people that was following what he used to be on, and now they done seen him shift. Hopefully, he can bring a lot more conscious minds, wake up a lot of more souls, wake up a lot of more lost brothers with the move he made. And you did. A lot of brothers followed behind you. And so coming to work release and having that span of time, you're talking about almost 13, 14 years. That's a long
Yeah.
time, bro. Like
Yeah.
that's a whole child as a teenager now. From the womb, that's a whole life, right? And so,
Yeah.
yes, mama, impact. So when you got to IS, when I got to South Bend, I had already heard that man, Jay Fields, he was here, man. He was doing his thing, right? So shout out to Bowen, for allowing brothers like yourself. So here's a situation where I was trailblazing for a while, and then it was people like you that left and went on your journey. We never seen each other, don't know what each other was doing. We in two separate worlds, two separate prisons, and you were still making impact, right? Because when I got there, your name was still ringing as somebody who came here and really showed guys how to embrace this work release process. And then they told me about Iron Sharper Iron, right? And the crazy part about this, and I'm gonna say this too, about Big Head. He don't even know this. I never mentioned this in none of our sessions. Big Head is the first person that allowed me to touch some green money when I got to work release. I ain't never told him that. Patrick Cox. what was his name? Patrick Cox. That's his name.
Yeah.
So when I got to A&O, they let him come around where we was able to shoot ball at outside. And
Okay.
he came, he had his wallet in his pocket. This before he got shipped. And I hadn't seen no money. I've been locked up. I ain't seen no money. I'm like, I know I'm at work release. Like, I really want to see if I'm really at work release though. Man, you got your wallet on you, man, pull some of that money out. And he pulled his wallet out. And he was like, man, I really ain't got nothing, man. He's like, I ain't got nothing but like $20. So he pulled out a $20 bill. And I was like, man, let me see that joint, man. Like, he pulled it out. And I was like, man, let me touch it. You know what I mean? And I reached through the fence and I touched it, man. I was like, man, like, wow, $20, you know. So work release for me, man, I was embracing all aspects of it. Like, I didn't take that for granted, I didn't take it for granted. Yeah, babe, green money. Yeah, I didn't take it for granted, right? You know,
No doubt.
because we seen money in the joint, but I wasn't in that type of lane where I was getting money like that. I ain't
Right.
for the perfect. That wasn't my lane. I wasn't getting
Right.
money like that in prison. But I seen some green money in the joint, but I seen this was some hard earned legal money that I seen what Pat pulled out. So yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then that day, like I was I was just sitting at the I was sitting at the I was at the matter of fact, I was going through the vegetable garden and I see this white BMW pulled up. Shout out to Barbara Brown too, man. Shout out to my and it's crazy too, man. My mama named Barbara too, and I told you that. Like it's crazy,
Yeah.
like like both of our mothers is named Barbara, right? But um, that's crazy though, man. Like all those, and I thought about that before too. But anyway, when you pulled up, man, you had that white BMW, man, pulled up in that joint, jumped out. I was like, damn, that's what work release do, right? In my mind, I was like, like that's what work release do. And
Right.
mom, she gave me the real story. She gave me the real story behind the BMW too, right? Shout out to
Yes,
mom,
sir.
man.
Definitely. Big shout out to mom. Um, so we both had the pleasure of experiencing work release. Very impactful to say the least on both of us. Um, and then we come home. So you mentioned earlier how a lot of guys we got locked up at 18, so like we really didn't know life like that as an adult. A lot of us had never lived with a female. Came home married, so a whole new component. We ain't really been around women sharing the same living space with a woman, the whole nine. But so I want you to dive into that. And I want you to have this moment, like really to give sis her flowers. I was getting ready to go in, but I'm gonna let you do that, bro.
So I was tripping on Detroit comment, man, and I missed half of your question, right? Uh, you see Detroit comment, it kind of threw it.
That part. Yeah, that's fact.
Right. Hey, I'm sorry, man. Run the question back for me, man. I'm sorry, man.
So I was talking how earlier you was talking about us getting, locked up at a young age. Most of us didn't really know adulthood because we were kids. If we did live on our own, like it still wasn't the same because we weren't adults. A lot of us had never lived. So we come home, we in these relationships, both of us married. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about that component of coming home and the assimilation of coming in, being the head of a house, having your woman on your team. And I was like, I was getting ready to go into giving sis her flowers, right? But I was like, I digress because I want you to have this moment for what that assimilation was like coming home to your queen.
Yeah. Um, man, great. You know, beautiful people, man. This earth is filled with beautiful people, and you know, like I call my wife a social butterfly, and
Mm-hmm.
because she's you know, she don't mean no harm to nobody, and she want good for everybody, right? And so I knew what I was walking into. I wasn't walking into a person that didn't mean me well, you know. Like
Right.
I knew the individual that I was coming home to. She met me well because she married me when I had 5 years less than 100.
Say that again. When you had what?
I had 5 years. I was sentenced to 5 years less than 100.
Mm.
And she married me in that state of. She married me in that state, not knowing when the count. I was actually climbing up the calendar. Not, people say, man, I'm leveling down. She married me when I was still climbing up the calendar, not knowing
Yeah.
when the calendar was gonna go down. Because in all actuality, you know, the Most High allowed me to get out here at this point in time. Other than that, I'll still be in there serving that time. And I'll still be climbing up. That's how much time that they had gave me. And she married me
Right.
not knowing when I was gonna touch down. So man, like I knew what I was walking into. She walked this down with me, like from court dates to going to drop money off to the lawyer, you know, and I could trust her with my money. I could trust her with my transcripts. Like you don't give your transcripts to just anybody. you know, like I
No
sent my
doubt.
I sent my transcripts home, you know, like, and I can remember sending my stuff home to, I remember sending it to lawyers and didn't get them back. you
Mm-hmm.
know, so I sent them. So I'm saying all that to say, to make it short and sweet, man, is that I knew what I was walking into, man. Very sincere individual, um, loyal, as you say, 10 toes down, great companion, willing to learn, open minded, um, and having not done time, free time with a woman as an adult, she made the process easy, man. When I came home, she didn't get in my way of me leading the house because I was leading from the prison. I was paying
Mm-hmm.
rent and not just financially, but spiritually and physically as well. You know, I was paying rent from work release. I was paying the rent
Right.
there, 675, and I was paying the rent at my condo that she was staying in to let her know that, like I'm serious about it too. So all of those things before
Mhm.
I came home made it an easy process on her and me. Because one, she knew that I married her and I gave her my last name. Two, she knew that I would trust her with anything that I got, including my transcripts. And three, I financially supported her when I wasn't in the condition or the position to do it, but she still got what I got. So all of that made a happy, you know, marriage. All that made a happy union. And you know, and here it is, we 3 years down the road, and man, shoot, I'm in the man cave right now, and she upstairs doing something, man. I ain't gonna even mention about the food though. You know what I mean? Like, wow, shout out to her. Look, you know what I mean? Like these, this that's all you need to know.
Hey man, you over there looking like a whole commercial.
That's what you hear me? That's like, hey, this is all you need to know about you know what I mean, about what's going on, right? You know what I'm saying? This right here.
Oh man, that part. That part, man. All right. So hey man, time fly when you having fun, man.
For
But
real,
look,
for real.
I wanna ask you, Deep try fried. He said he been slamming for the past 15 minutes. Oh man, yeah, he making me hungry too, Mama. Yeah, yeah, sis, a whole commercial. You hear me? uh, a nice ad. So we home now, and you mentioned earlier how we was just having a conversation in the class. You termed the class, but like after 26 years of peace, man, like we back in prisons 5 days a week.
5 days a week,
You know,
man.
with the work that we do, man, and we do it every day with a smile on our face.
Every day
You
with
know,
a smile, bro.
I was telling the class today, we pulled up in the parking lot, music bumping, taking pictures early in the morning. It's
Six
cold,
thirty.
28 degrees outside, 6 something in the morning, and we happy doing this work, man. Going back into the very places that we were held captive for most of our life, man.
Yes, sir.
And what was the term you said Shaky used the other day? Y'all glued at the hip.
Glued at the hip, man. Straight up.
you know,
Glued at the
Doing
hip,
this
bro.
work, man, is so fulfilling, man. Before we get out of here, I just want to touch on that a little bit, man. I don't even really have a direct question when it comes to that, but I just want to touch on, like the work that we do, man.
Yeah.
And the passion, the impact, the whole nine with the work that we do, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad you opened up that, and I understand. We on the pitch count too. We got like about 4 or 5 minutes, so I'm gonna be real brief with that, man. Yo maxim, yo mantra, yo aphorism, yo thing for 2025 is impact, and mine is gratitude, and
Mm-hmm.
those those things I don't even know. I'm gonna drop a word: symbiosis. You know, it, the, they go together, right? Because you have to enjoy what you do. You have to be grateful, enjoy what you do in order to have impact. Other than that, work becomes work for you. Work ain't work for us, man. Because
Facts.
we enjoy and we grateful that we in a position to give back. And you see that both translated in how we move throughout, you know, our operation, right? And so I'm extremely, grateful to have somebody. And I always said this, even from the day that, like we teamed up, right? I always said this, like we gonna shake some stuff up, bro. Like real talk. And from day one, you know, when you pull back up in 2020, we've been rocking ever since, right? And
Yep.
from from not only the prison system, bro. Like, man, we done been to IU Bloomington, down in Bloomington, Indiana, Valparaiso University. We done spoke on these college campuses, man. We done been to the state house in front of the Senate committee, bro. Like, this is major, bro. Like, it's I'm talking about like this major, bro. Like, for real. And so saying that, like, what I mean, like, man, I couldn't think of a better individual, man. You know what I mean? Like, it's too many similarities, and people seem to like. And I think and I get out of here, man, because I see we getting ready to cut us out. My man's Abdul Samad, brother Hollins, man. He said, man, you would have never thought these two individuals that got together. That's what it throws people off. Like, like, because they was
Right.
on two separate parts of the yard until they got on the basketball court. But now they out here, both of them, you know what I mean, like making impact, bro.
That part. And it don't cut us off. So I mean, if you
Oh,
want
okay.
to continue your wisdom,
Okay.
like I just said it for an hour, but like we can keep going till we done.
Okay. 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 Yeah. I'm looking at like, man, 59, 58. But yeah, man. Yeah, man, that this work that we do, man, your heart has to be really into it. And a lot of people ain't really built for it. And it comes across when I had an elder, and there ain't nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? I had an elder brother literally just yesterday, brother Larry Love, his son, 75 years old, man.
Mm-hmm.
He when I came in the building yesterday, he's like, man, you know what? I've been wanting to ask you this. He said, because you make it look easy. He said, how do it feel to go back inside there? He said, because every time I think about it, he said, no kidding me, man. He said, like, I start shutting down. I start
Wow.
like, he said, I get anxiety, man. I get, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, man, like he said, I can't even, he said, I'm talking about, he said he literally gets sick in his stomach thinking about, he said he gets the chills and the shakes and everything. He said it messes him up. So this ain't for everybody.
Right.
So we able to walk in there and we make this stuff look easy to people. And they think that they can do, like, some people think like, yeah, man, I can do the same thing. And and sometimes they figure out like nah, them dudes is actually really working. You know what I'm saying? But they make it look easy. We got to
Right.
go through the shakedowns. You got to take stuff off. You know what I mean? You got to take shoes off. You got to deal with the staff member, all them staff members that people who got tired of and they was running away from. They're like, man, I can't wait. I don't never want to see that person again. Man, we running back into them same staff members, man. And
Yes.
now,
Every
and now
day.
every day, and now we gotta deal with them same staff members, and it's a different relationship now. So,
Yes.
man, being able to do this work with you, Jay, man, this, man, like, it's like basketball, man. It's give and go, man. It's 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 a it's a it's something that come naturally, and I like that. I like that about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It started to trip me out early on, man, and it didn't take long for the impact. But, when we wrapping up and getting ready to leave and the brothers is coming up, like, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Like, man, I love y'all. And I'm just like, wow, like the hope, the inspiration, the motivation that we bring into people when they like, hey, these guys did 26 years and came back for me
Came back,
and came back for me. Like
and
that hit different,
hit different. And
and that's why I tell them I don't know how it comes off. I don't mean for it to be abrasive, but I'm like, don't waste our time. Like that's all I ask of them. Like, don't waste our time. I understand we humans, we make mistakes, but I'm like, with what we dealing with and what we go through to come back for you, because I'm on a God-given assignment. This ain't even about me. Because Jamarcus didn't want to go back inside no prison. I wanted to sprint far away from that thing as I could. But doing my assignment, I'm like, we we going we we're dealing with our own trauma coming back in here every day
mm-hmm.
with a smile on our face, as passionate as we want to be, day after day.
Yeah.
I'm like, at least be present, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in no lane of life do I want to care more about your process than you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I hear them, hey, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Like,
Yeah.
man, I love y'all, man. Like,
Yeah.
that hit
Yeah.
different, bro.
Yeah. And let me say this too, as I'm thinking about it, right? In your 26 years, can you remember anybody doing what you're doing right now for people?
No.
I can't either, man. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying it ain't. I'm not saying it hasn't been done, but I just can't think of a person who got out And then I know some people like Chaplain Blackburn, Keith Blackburn. He's a DOC staff member, right?
Mhm.
Tenet Bay. I remember Tenet Bay coming back in. You know, he did a couple programs, but it didn't. You know, it didn't spark a movement. Like we got a whole movement going here, bro. Like we done brought in, like Tenet Bay did that. That was just Tenet Bay and maybe, another person. Man, we done brought up a whole Iron Man class. like, like, and we taking the show on the road. Like we got
Mm.
we got tour dates like booked out till the summertime. You know,
Facts.
like we done pushed it further, man. We done pushed the
Yeah,
envelope further. Cause I'm trying to jog my mind to think of who has got out and done what we're doing right now. And I think that's why people say, bro, man, what y'all two is doing, man, I'm talking about these is guys 20, 25 years in. So they seeing something that they haven't seen either. For them to say, like, man, what you and him, what y'all doing, man, keep going, bro. Because
man.
like we haven't seen that. And so, like, because it's a lot of obstacles from one, refusing to be a mule, you know,
Right.
like you going into places where you think like you can make, I mean, like we can make $1 million if we was on some corruption, you know,
Facts.
you know, and that temptation, a lot of dudes couldn't handle that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, number two, like we are, you know, you got you got to go back in front of your people that held you captive and actually shake their hand to let
Yeah.
you win, and go help and pull some other people up. A lot of people can't do that, man. So it's like,
Yeah.
man, really, yeah, shout out, man. Shout out to you, man. All the Iron Men that's on board, Dex, Stamp, Pat, Darvis, D-Tron, Applegate, uh, you name it, man. If I'm leaving anybody out, Derek Matthews, uh, you know, if I'm leaving anybody out, man, like, Michael Hart, leaving anybody out, man, and it talking to my head and not my heart, man. But the Iron Man, they really the Iron Man are really like we got something here. We can do something, man.
Yeah. That part.
For sure.
Man, as usual, man. Been a wonderful conversation, a great evening. Um, Everybody that not just logged on, but even stayed on after to
Yeah.
the after hour set with us.
Right.
Uh,
After hours.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Appreciate y'all.
Respect for the love and the support. Um, yeah, love is love, man. Make sure y'all tap into the website Iron Sharpens Iron, WAST.org. See what we got going on. Check out the calendar. You feel led to want to volunteer, to assist, um, potentially become an Iron Man. That's the place. Tap in with us. Um,
Or Iron Woman.
or Iron Woman. Tap in. We continuing to grow, continuing to branch out. This the 17th, 18th, and 19th of this month, which is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we will be doing our third annual virtual webinar on Zoom. So look for information on that. You can find that on the website as well as the social media platforms. Um, as we continue to do this work, man. Bro, you already know, man. It was wonderful chopping it up with you.
Sure.
You done made me hungry. Sis did her thing. I'm gonna get ready to go eat, man. I will see you first thing in the morning, bright and early, while it's still dark outside. Hope them roads ain't too icy. Y'all make sure y'all hit that subscribe button on the YouTube, man, and let's continue to get this thing going, man. And we'll be back next Wednesday. Hopefully, I see y'all at the virtual webinar Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Y'all have a great evening. Love is love.
Love is love.